Hello guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. This one I know is in a different format, is in this video format where you have highlights of basketball players going on in the background. I'm just doing this to see if this format gets more views, if it drives more subs. I'm just trying to figure out what people like the most and what will get the most views and what will help the channel grow the most. Just because that's what you should do if you're a young YouTuber such as myself. So without further ado, let's go into the video. What you didn't know about the 1984 draft, this is the same draft Hakeem Olajuwon, Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley were taken in with the top 5 picks. But what about the people taken with the 10th, 15th, 24th, 2nd, 4th, 9th, any other pick? What happened to those guys? Did they have good careers? What are their accolades? How many seasons did they play? What are their stats? Today I will answer those questions. Starting off with the 2nd pick taken by the Portland Trailblazers, Sam Bowie. He averaged 10.9 points per game, 7.5 rebounds a game, 2.1 assists per game, 1.8 blocks per game, 0.5 steals per game, 74 free throw percent, 30% from 3, and shooting 45% from the field. I don't know what is wrong with me. He played 10 seasons in the NBA, and the only accolade he has was he was an all-rookie when he was a rookie. He made the all-rookie team when he was a rookie. Now, with the 4th pick, 1984 NBA draft, Dallas Mavericks select Sam Perkins. He was an all-rookie. He averaged 11.9 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, 1.5 assists per game, 0.7 blocks per game, 0.9 steals per game, shot 81% from the free throw line, 36% from 3, and 45% from the field. And he played 18 seasons. Didn't have any accolades or anything like that. And yeah, they could have taken Charles Barkley, but at least they didn't mess up completely. At least they drafted someone who's gonna have a nice career. Some guys here only spent a season or 2 in the league, when people drafted after them spent 20-something seasons, or at least went into the double digits. So, really, as long as they had a long career and it was decent, it's a pretty good selection. Now then, with the 6th pick in the 1984 NBA draft, the Washington Bullets, yes, they were called the Bullets at this time, select Melvin Turpin. Melvin Turpin played 5 seasons in the NBA. He averaged 8.5 points per game, 4.6 rebounds per game, 0.5 assists, 1 block per game, 0.4 steals per game, shot 77% from the free throw line, 11% from 3, and 51% from the field. Only played 5 seasons, but, well, actually, the guy taken directly after him was a bit of a good player, you could say. With the 7th pick in the NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs. Did I just say the 7th draft? The 7th overall pick in the 1984 NBA draft. The San Antonio Spurs select Alvin Robertson. Now then, Alvin Robertson, get ready for these accolades. 4-time All-Star, 3-time Steals champ, 1985 to 1986 All-NBA, 6-time All-Defense, and 1985 to 1986 Most Improved Player. He was also, I didn't put it on here, but I just remembered from looking at the page, looking at his basketballreference.com page, just because I didn't put on here because they don't give it now, but He was a Defensive Player of the Year sometime in the 80s. You can go check it out. Just search up Alvin Robertson, basketballreference.com. You can go see it. You just search any of these guys' names and then put basketballreference.com, and that's where that's my only source for all of this. Just so you guys know. But yeah, he averaged 14 points per game. These are career statistics. 5.2 total rebounds, 5 assists, 0.4 blocks, 2.7 steals. That's probably where his defensive stuff came from. 74% from the free throw line, 29% from 3, and 47% from the field. And he played 11 seasons. 11 seasons, 4-time All-Star, 6-time All-Defense, Most Improved Player, All-NBA, Steals Champ. That's a pretty good career, and that's a really good selection by the Spurs there. Now then, the guy taken after him, not exactly the best career. Lancaster Gordon, with the 8th pick by the Los Angeles Clippers. He averaged 5.6 points per game, 1.3 total rebounds, 1.5 assists, 0.2 blocks, 0.6 steals, shot 76% from the free throw line, 27% from 3, and 39% from the field. And he played 4 seasons. There are guys taken after this dude that played more seasons, have been selected to All-Star games. They've won championships and contributed to Zed championship team. Some of these selections you're going to hear, and then the player that's going to get drafted after them, you're going to be like, what the heck? But hindsight's 20/20, so they didn't know that back then. Now then, with the next selection, 9th pick, the Kansas City Kings select Otis Thorpe. Yes, the Kings were in Kansas City for a brief time. I know, weird. If you were alive during this time, you probably remember that. But if you're like my age or born after the 80s, you're probably surprised to know that they were there. Unless you knew this before, but that's neither here nor there. Let's just get into this dude's stats. He's a 1-time All-Star. He won a championship in 1994, and he played 19 seasons in the NBA. That's a pretty good career. Now let me tell you about the stats. He averaged 14 points per game, 8.2 total rebounds per game, 2.2 assists, 0.4 blocks, 0.7 steals, 68% from the free throw line, 4% from 3, and 54% from the field. Not the best three-point shooter, but he sounds worthy of contributing to a championship team, being an all-star, and playing 19 seasons at the highest level. That's a really good selection. Now, there is one guy taken with the 16th pick in this draft that is better than everybody taken before him, with the exception of Michael Jordan, Hakeem, and maybe Charles Barkley. Kind of debatable, but you'll figure out who that is if you don't know already. But on to the next pick. With the 10th pick in the 1984 NBA Draft, Philadelphia 76ers select Leon Wood, and is from a college called Cal State Fullerton. What is that? But anyways, he averaged 6.4 points per game, 1.2 total rebounds per game, 3.2 assists per game, 0 blocks per game, 0.5 steals per game, 79% from the free throw line, 39% from field, and 32% from 3. And he played 8 seasons. Decent career. How he averaged 0 blocks per game in those 8 seasons, it kind of amazes me. But, just wasn't good at getting blocks, I guess. Now then, On to the next guy. With the 11th pick in the 1984 NBA Draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Kevin Willis. Now, Kevin Willis, that's a pretty good selection. He was a one-time All-Star, and he won a championship in 2003. He averaged 12.1 points per game, 8.4 total rebounds per game, 0.9 assists per game, 0.5 blocks, 0.7 steals, 71% from the free throw line, 48% from the field goal line, from the field, and 21% from three. But this next thing that I tell you is kind of amazing. The dude played 24 seasons in the NBA. This guy was like Vince Carter if he had less All-Star appearances, a championship, and it was just kind of less successful. But still, 24 seasons, and he was able to keep up a decent stat line throughout all those seasons. I feel like some of these guys are kind of underrated, I feel like. But, yeah. On to the next selection. Frick, I lost my place. Where is it? Kevin Willis. Okay. With the 12th pick in the 1984 NBA Draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Tim McCormick. Tim McCormick averaged 8.3 points per game, 4.9 total rebounds, 1 assist per game, 0.3 steals, 0.4 blocks. He shot 70% from the free throw line, 53% from the field, and 6% from the three-point line. And he played 9 seasons in the NBA. A decent selection. Not the best selection, because again, there's a guy on here whose name starts with a J. His first name starts with a J, and his last name starts with an S. And he may or may not be a Hall of Famer and the greatest point guard of all time, but you know. And he might have been a bit of an underrated three-point shooter, but we'll get to him in a second. With the 13th selection in the 1984 NBA Draft, the Phoenix Suns select Jay Humphreys. Jay Humphreys averaged 11.1 points per game, 2.5 total rebounds per game, 8.5 assists per game, 0.1 blocks per game, 0.5 steals per game, 7.8. He shot 78% from the free throw line, 46% from the field, and 29% from three. And he played 13 seasons. That's a pretty nice career by anybody's standards. Really, by my standards, you've had a decent career if you've played, if you've played 10 seasons. You don't even have to have any accolades. If you've played 10 seasons and you've been a good contributor to a team, you've had a decent career by my standards. Now, things like injuries and, circumstances that can, vary, it could take away from you having a good career. But I'm just saying, by my standards, if you are a good contributor to an NBA team and you've played double-digit seasons, you've had a pretty decent career. That's just by my standards. Now then, on to the next selection. With the 14th pick in the 1984 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Clippers select Michael Cage. Michael Cage averaged 7.3 points per game, 7.6 total rebounds per game, 0.9 assists, 0.6 blocks, 0.9 steals, 66% from the free throw line, 51% from the field, and 0% from the three-point line. And the dude led the league in total rebounds in 1988. And he won a championship. And he played 15 seasons in the NBA. Now, it shouldn't shock you that he led the league in rebounds per game at least once, because for his career, the dude averaged 0.3 more rebounds per game than he did points per game for his career. That's kind of impressive. Now, impressive in a good way or impressive in a bad way just depends on what kind of player you're looking for, but it's impressive, good or bad. Now then, with the next selection, the 15th pick in the 1984 NBA Draft, the Dallas Mavericks select Terence Stansbury. Now then, Terence Stansbury averaged 6.3 points per game, 1.4 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game, 0.1 blocks per game, 0.6 steals per game. He shot 77% from the free throw line, 44% from the field goal, and 22% from three. And he played 3 seasons. 2 of these with the Pacers, who traded for him on draft night, I believe. And with this next guy selected, the idea that my Indiana Pacers could have had this player, and we still would have gotten Reggie Miller, because he didn't make an immediate impact on the team he was on. The idea that we could have had him and Reggie Miller and Rick Smits, it kind of makes me mad that we didn't just trade for that pick and then select this player. With the 16th pick in the 1984 draft, the Utah Jazz select John Stockton. I don't even have any of these dudes' stats listed because, honestly, you should already know that he leads the NBA in all-time assists for a career. And he's, in my opinion, because point guards are meant to pass the ball. Now, yes, you can get into the greatest point guard conversation by being a good three-point shooter, because players need to, point guards, they need to be able to shoot the ball. But I believe John Stockton is the greatest of all time because he could pass. John Stockton and Magic Johnson are my top 2 point guards of all time, because they're both guys that could score and pass the ball. John Stockton's an underrated three-point shooter. If you don't believe me, look up his stats. Look at his three-point attempts. Look at his three-point percentage. And remember, he played in the 90s where three-pointers were discouraged. And if you don't believe me that three-pointers were discouraged, if you did not live in the era, if you did not, watch basketball in this era, go to your parents or somebody that you know who watched basketball in the 80s and 90s, and they will tell you three-pointers were discouraged, even if your name was Reggie Miller or Larry Bird or John Stockton or Clyde Drexler or Michael Jordan, all those guys. Michael Jordan wasn't the best three-point shooter, but you know what I mean. Now then, with the 17th pick in the 1984 NBA Draft, the New Jersey Nets select Jeff Turner. Jeff Turner averaged 6 points per game, 3.3 total rebounds, 1 assist per game, 0.1 blocks, 0.4 steals. He shot 76% from the free throw line, 46% from the field, and 34% from three. And he played 10 seasons in the NBA. A decent career. Now then, with the 18th pick in the 1984 NBA Draft, the Indiana Pacers select Vern Fleming. Averaged 11.3 points per game, 3.4 total rebounds, 4.8 assists, 0.1 blocks, 1 steal, per game. All those are per game. Shot 76% from the free throw line, 49% from the field, and 18% from 3, and played 12 seasons. I'm pretty sure 11, or most of those seasons being played with the Indiana Pacers. I know this because, well, I saw it, and also I'm a Pacers fan, so I know who this guy is. And honestly, looking at the rest of these guys, the next few guys coming up, he's probably the most successful of the next 6 guys coming up. So this was definitely the best selection at the time. These next few guys, with the exception of Tony Campbell, the rest of these guys never played more than 5 seasons. Again, with the exception of one guy. So a lot of these guys you've probably never heard of, or if you have heard of them, you know them for sucking. But honestly, they were taken late in the first round, so you can't blame them for sucking. Also, on a side note, in the 1984 NBA draft, there were 8 rounds. That is more rounds than the NFL draft, which has 7. Now, most of those guys who were drafted in the, 8th round, 7th round, and 6th round, most of those guys never played a minute in the NBA. But still, they were drafted. I'm pretty sure if you went undrafted, I'm pretty sure it was impossible to go undrafted. But, yeah. Okay. With the 19th pick in the 1984 NBA draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select Bernard Thompson. Bernard Thompson averaged 5.3 points per game, 1.7 rebounds per game, 1.3 assists per game, 0.1 blocks per game, 0.6 steals per game, 78% free throw shooter, 43% from the field, 0% from 3, and he played 5 seasons. Not the best career. Again, Vern Fleming definitely definitely better. Now then, with the 20th pick in the 1984 NBA draft, the Detroit Pistons select Tony Campbell. Now, Tony Campbell won a championship in 1988, and that's about his only accolade. He averaged 11.6 points per game, 3.1 rebounds per game, 1.5 assists per game, 0.2 blocks per game, 0.8 steals per game, shot 79% from the field, from free throw, shot 45% from the field, and 25% from 3, and played 12 seasons in the NBA. So at least he semi-earned that chip that he won in 88. So, at least it wasn't completely unearned, I guess. These next guys, Kenny Fields, Tom Sewell, Earl Jones, and Michael Young, none of those guys played more than 5 seasons. That's Kenny Fields, who didn't average the best stats. So I'm not even going to tell you guys their stats. If you want to look them up, you can. They didn't do anything in their whole career, and this video is getting pretty long. So, I think I'm just going to end it there. I will see you guys in the next video. If you liked this format, tell me in the comments. If you didn't and you want me to go back to the old format of me just talking to a camera in my room, I can go back to that if you like it. But if you don't, I'm gonna go with this format most of the time. If it's a rant, not going with this format. But I'll see you